Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss the concept called creating threads. As we have discussed in the last video, thread is nothing but a lightweight sub-process and we are calling it like a smallest unit of processing. Okay, and it will be having the various types of stages in thread. Okay, so where it will be starting with the new, next runnable, and then running, and then waiting stage, and finally the termination. And for creating this thread, so we are having the two ways. First one is by extending a thread class, and second one is by implementing the runnable interface. So here thread is a class. We will be trying to inherit the properties of that thread class to the current class. And next, so we will be making use of the runnable interface, which will be implementing, that means which will be inheriting the properties of that runnable interface to our code. Okay. See, this thread class will be having, or else it will be providing some constructors and methods to create and perform operations on the thread. Okay. So this thread class will be extending the object class, and also it is going to implement the runnable interface. And as I told you that it will be providing the constructors and methods. So the commonly used constructor of this thread class is nothing but thread. Okay. So thread string name, thread runnable R, and then thread runnable R string name. So these are the commonly used constructors of a thread class. So this is how we will be extending Java thread. Here public class, my class extends thread, okay, and public void run. So here I'm just trying to print the statement called my class running. So if you come across with this public void run here, so this is used to perform action for a thread. Okay, so generally the runnable interface should be implemented by any class, so whose instances are intended to be executed by a thread. Okay, so runnable interface have only one method called run. So here this public void run is used to perform action of a thread. Next, to create and start this above thread, so we will be representing my class. So this is the class name, okay, T1, this is the object, is equal to new my class and T1 dot start. Here this start is nothing but a method of thread class, so which is used to start a newly created thread. Okay, so to perform or else to start a newly created thread, we will be making use of a method called start method. So this is how we are going to extend Java thread, and then we are going to start the thread. And the commonly used methods of a thread class are, so public void run. So this is a type of method which is used to perform action for a thread. Okay, next, public void start. So start, it is going to start the execution of the thread. Okay, so this Java virtual machine will calls this run method on the thread. Okay, for starting the execution of the thread, so we will be making use of public void start. Next, public void sleep long milliseconds. See, sleep is going to cause the thread, so the which is currently executing, so it will be holding that execution for a specified milliseconds. For example, whatever the time we have specified for this milliseconds, that much of milliseconds time the execution will be hold, that means it will be in the sleeping state. Next, public void join. So it waits for a thread to die, that means for termination. Okay, next, public void join a long milliseconds. So this is the thing which is going to wait for a thread to die for a particular point of time. So here we are going to mention a particular time, so that based on that time, so this is going to wait for the thread to terminate or else to die. Next, public int get priority. So this is going to return the priority of the thread. So we are going to specify the priorities for the thread. So this method will be returning the priority of the thread. Next, public int set priority. So if you want to change the priority, or else if you want to set the priority of a thread in the sense, then we can make use of a method called public int set priority. Here we are having an option to set our own priority for the thread. Next, public string get name. So it will be returning the name of the thread over here. Next one is public void set name. See, if you want to set the name for that particular thread, or else if you want to change the previous name of the thread in the sense, then we will be setting the name with the method called public void set name and then that string name. Next one is public thread current thread. So this will be returning the reference of currently executing thread. Whatever the thread that is executing in right now, so that will be returned over here. Next one is public int get id. So it will be returning the id of that particular thread. Okay, so in the previous methods we have that means we have tried to get the priority and we have tried to get the name of the thread. No, here it will be returning the id of the thread. Next one is public thread dot state get state. So it will be returning the state of the thread. That means we are having the so many states, right? 5 states, right? In which state the thread is. Okay, it will be representing in which state that particular thread is. Next one, public boolean is alive. So it is going to test if the thread is alive or not. Okay, whether it has been terminated or else whether it has been a dead state or not. Okay, so likewise it will be checking whether the thread is alive or not. Next, public void yield. So this will be causing the currently executing thread object to temporarily pass and allow other threads to execute. Okay, that means whatever the thread that is executing now, it will be holding that thread and it will be giving a chance to execute the other thread over here. Next, public void suspend. This is used to suspend the thread. Okay, so if you don't want the thread to get executed and if you want to break that thread in the sense, then we will be making use of this suspend method. Next, public void resume. So if whatever the thread which has been suspended and if you want to re-execute that thread from where it has been stopped, so that means we can resume that suspension of thread by making use of a method called public void resume. In the same way, public void stop. So we will be using this method to stop the thread. Okay. And next, public boolean is daemon. So this test is, it is going to test if the thread is in a daemon thread or not. Okay. So here, whereas coming to this one, public void set daemon boolean b, it is going to mark the thread as daemon or as user thread. Okay, here we are ourselves marking the thread as a daemon thread, and then it is going to check whether a thread is a daemon thread or not. Okay, and next one is public void interrupt. So the name itself specifying it will be trying to interrupt the thread over here. And next one is public boolean is interrupted. So here we are going to check whether if the thread has been interrupted by some other thing or not. Okay, so we are going to check whether it has been interrupted or not. Okay, so whereas coming to this daemon, as I told you that the test of the if the thread is a daemon thread or not, no, here the daemon thread in Java is a service provider thread. Okay, so this will be providing services to the user thread. Okay, so daemon thread is nothing but a service provider thread which will be providing services to the user thread. Okay, for example, its life depend on the concern of this user threads only. Okay, so when all the user threads dies, so Java virtual machine will be going to terminate these threads automatically. Okay, likewise, so this daemon threads are nothing but the service provider threads, so which will be providing services to a user thread over here. Okay, and next one is public static boolean interrupted. So this is going to test if the current thread has been interrupted or not. Here we are going to check with the overall threads has been interrupted or not. And whereas in this boolean interrupted, here we are going to check with the current thread has been interrupted or not. Okay, so these are the methods, various types of methods we are having for creating the threads. Okay, so if you observe clearly here, whatever we are having, the methods, so it will be stating like the functionality of a thread, whether it is running good or not, how we have to start the thread, and how many milliseconds we need to keep the thread in a waiting state, and how to get the priority, and how to set the priority, and how we are going to get the name of the thread, and how we are setting the name to a thread. Okay, not only the name, here we can get the id also, and we can able to check whether the thread is in a live state or not. And if you don't want to run that thread, in the sense we can suspend that thread, and again we can resume that suspension also. Okay, and we are going to check whether our thread has been interrupted or not. Likewise, we are having this various types of methods which we can use under this threads concept. Okay, next one is runnable interface. As I already told you that the runnable interface will be implemented by any class, so whose instances are extended to be executed by a thread. Okay, so we are using a method called run over here, so which is used to perform the action for a thread. Okay, and not only that one, we will be making use of a start method also. So where this start method is going to create an is going to start the newly created thread. Okay, and it will be performing this following task. A new thread will be going to start over here, and the thread moves from the new state to the runnable state. Obviously, so whenever we are going to start a new thread, it will be initially in the new state only. Afterwards, after doing this start method, it will be moving to the active state called runnable state. Okay, and when a thread gets a chance to execute it, its target is to run method. Okay, that means it will be in a running state. So this is the how it is going to perform the task by using the start method. So initially it is going to create a new thread. Okay, afterwards it will be moving from new state to a runnable state, and from runnable state to a running state over here. So this is the example which will be defining you the creation of a thread. See, if you observe, here I have defined a class, and here I'm going to implement the runnable interface. In that runnable interface, I'm going to define a method called run, so which is going to perform all the actions of that particular thread. Okay, and next again I'm creating a class called my thread, and which will be implementing the interface called runnable. And here I'm just defining a thread t. Okay, and then I'm going to create a method for this thread. Okay, and next I'm going to start that thread. Okay, see, if you observe, I'm going to create the method called run, and here I'm just going to represent try and catch, and I'm going to specify that condition. Okay, that means I'm going to repeat the loop for 5 times. Okay, I is equal to 5, I greater than 0, and I minus minus. Okay, I decrement I have represented, and along with that one I have just mentioned like thread dot sleep. That means I want that thread to sleep for 10 seconds. Okay, and here if this I is got decremented, if any exception is occurring in the sense, that means any interruption is going to get happen in the sense, I'm going to print the event called interrupted exception. So I'm just representing the same thing in my printout statement. And here I'm just trying to call the threads by this 1, 2, and 3. Here again, I'm just, see, this is the sleep time. This is the 10 seconds where the thread will be sleeping. Okay, so if I try to run this program, so here I'll be getting that output like, so first I'll be getting the new thread and thread, so 1 5 main, that means it will be replicating this in a reverse order. Okay, that means here we have just specified the condition like I is equal to 5 and I is greater than 0, I decrement no. So that's why it is going to call this thread. Okay, so based on the I value. So first it will be having 1 is 5 and 2 is 5, 3 is 5. Okay, I have just defined three threads no. So for these three things it has been specified with the 5, and next with the 4, and next with the 3, and next 2, and then 1. And after reaching this 0, the condition will get fails. Okay, so then it will be moving to the 1 exiting, 2 exiting, and 3 exiting. Finally it is going to exit the main thread here. Okay, so this is how we are going to, that means after representing all this, the thread will be sleeping for 10 seconds. After that only it is going to exit from the first thread, second thread, third thread, and the main thread. Okay, so this is how we can able to represent the sleep, and how we can able to call the threads, and then how we are going to define the thread. Okay, so in this video we have come across with how we are going to create a thread, and what are the various types of methods we are having to create a thread, and runnable interface. And in that runnable interface we have come across with the run method and the start method, and a full example which is going to demonstrate the creation of a thread. Okay. Thank you.